If you're tired of your artwork looking distorted or crooked, then stick around and I'll show you how to nail your drawing accuracy every time. But before I do that, if you're interested in learning how to create wall-worthy art in 6 months, comment happy below and I'll send you the link to my coaching program, Happy Artist. So to nail this drawing accuracy, then what you need to do is you need to work with plumb lines. Let me show you what I mean by that. We're going to work on this picture here. And what I want to do is I want to get it started, and then I'm going to use plumb lines to make sure that everything is in the right place. I want to make sure that all the elements in this picture line up. But before I do that, I'm going to start with basic shapes, and I'm going to get the drawing in, and then we're going to tweak it. So to begin with, we're just going to start sketching in the basic shape. And I'm drawing a little darker than I normally would, and we're just going to get a basic shape in. Nothing's right. Everything's going to be adjusted, but we have something to work from. And what I want to do is I just want to get something down so that I can show you exactly what a plumb line is and how much it will help you. And I'm just drawing the very basic shapes, and like I say, everything's going to be tweaked a little bit as we go along, but we've got something down. So, and it's very light so that I can make the adjustments that I need to. All right. So once I have these shapes in, what I want to do is I want to create plumb lines. Plumb lines are vertical or horizontal lines that you put on your drawing reference and on your paper to make sure that things line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a marker and I'm going to draw plumb lines on my reference picture first. So I'm using the T-square, making sure it lines up with the top, and I'm going to move my ruler along and see what elements line up. The edge here of his horn goes down and it matches up with the edge, almost the edge of his toe. This edge of his horn matches up about the middle of his leg, but right here where the corners meet, it's there. So you can see there's different elements that you can line up, but it doesn't really matter that you don't have to choose the same one as other people might choose. You just need to find some lines that you can make sure they line up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually look at the eye, the edge of the eye, see where that lines up, and I'm kind of sliding I'm sliding it around, and I can see the edge of the ear lines up with the edge of the toe here. So I'm going to draw a vertical line here, and I'm going to move it out across here and see what else I can get that would line up here. Let's go ahead and the edge of the horn here, we're going to put another line here. So these are vertical plumb lines. What we want to do is we want to create a couple horizontal plumb lines as well. So if I look here, if I put a line at the bottom of the horn on this side, you can see where it lines up on the body. If I move it to the top, then I can see how far down I have to go on the other horn. So I'm going to go ahead and do the top line. I'm just going to make a choice of what will help me, and I'm going to go ahead and get that one in. One thing I think is really helpful is getting the legs to line up a little bit. So I'm going to go to the top where this leg on the back right leg hits his body, and I'm going to draw a line there. All right, so now I've got some plumb lines here. What I want to do is I want to use those same plumb lines and make sure that they line up on the drawing here. So as I start drawing, a couple things I can do. I can use the ruler and I can draw the line, make it perfect, or I can just use my pencil and go back and forth. But what I want to do is I just want to create a plumb line that will tell me that everything is in the right place. I can see the edge of the face is a great plumb line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line, and I'll draw it dark so you can see it. And I'm going to work from there. So I can see the corner of this. I am going to create his head. And I'm going to look at the negative shape, and I'm going to fit his head in here. Now, a couple things you can do with plumb lines is if you want to do sight size, which is the same size, you can actually measure the distance between the two. And you could take your ruler and measure that, and then move it over here and mark it. And then you've got the same size. So you can do that if you want, or you can just eye it. I usually eye it, but I'm going to measure just this one to show you what I mean by that. So now, can you see how far out I went, but how far in it really is? So I'm going to pull that in, and I'm going to fit the horn within this line. Double check my lines. 1 1/4. Yep, okay. It looks a lot smaller for some reason, but I wanted to check it. So, okay, let's go ahead and just look at the shape and see if we can get that in. So when you do plumb lines, what you want to do is you want to create the plumb lines as you need them. So you don't need to do them all at the same time. You can just start and add them to your drawing as you go. So I'm just getting the basic shape. I'm not getting into detail or anything, but I want to get the basic shape of where everything's at. Now I'm going to go ahead and get his face in. And plumb lines are helpful because you can actually use a plumb line to determine your next space here. So when you're drawing, jumping a big space, it's a lot harder to get it accurate than jumping a small space. So because I have the edge of this plumb line, I can compare the edge of that plumb line to the edge of the white shape on his face and make sure that I'm got it in about the right spot. Okay. Now what I want to do is I'm going to look at this plumb line right here, right at the bottom of his horn and at the bottom of his little jawbone here. And I'm going to draw a line that goes across there. So can you see by drawing that line, I can see that I drew his jaw down a little too far. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. So it's just these little tiny tweaks that you can do when you first start drawing. I usually use a lot of plumb lines, but I just draw them, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second here. I don't use a ruler all the time either, so. All right. So now that we can see this, we can look here, and I can look at the plumb line against the corner of his horn, and I can look here, and I can see that I need to go wider to create that look. And I'm drawing much darker than I would at home on my own so that you can see it. If I'm doing it at home, I'm actually drawing light like this, and I'm sure you can't even see it, but I can't see it myself unless I'm about a foot away from it. So that's how light I usually draw. Okay, let's go ahead and keep adding to this. So we're going to start working, and what we're going to do is we're going to focus on getting everything in its place. And as we do that, if we find a spot that just feels confusing and we need to add something and we're not sure where it goes, then we're going to figure out where to put a plumb line at that point. So I'm looking here, and I want to make sure that I've got the horns the right height. So I'm going to go ahead and add a plumb line to the top of this one. Just to give me an idea of where that's at. I'll go ahead and measure that one. And I'll put a tick mark there. And we'll do a plumb line here. So it almost goes to that point, and I can see the negative space, and that helps me. Plumb lines actually enclose negative space for you. So this area right here is the negative space, so that will help you. So you can just watch as we work through this picture and try to create this mountain goat here. So you can see here that we have one horn that looks like it's wider and longer than the other one because of the direction that his head is turning. So what we've done is we've used plumb lines to make sure everything lines up and that we get our proportions right and that the elements in this drawing line up. Before we continue, if you're interested in learning how to create wall-worthy art in 6 months, comment happy below and I'll send you the link to my coaching program, Happy Artist. So let's go ahead and get started on the body here, and I'm just going to start drawing and seeing if I can line things up. One thing that you can do as you're drawing is you don't want to jump too big of shapes. You want to jump from one small shape to the next. So look at value changes as well as just the edge of the object, and that will help you be able to know how much of a space you need to jump to get those correct. You see here that I'm comparing the shapes here of the negative space and the space of the legs on both sides. And I'm having to shift over to make sure that all of these shapes fit within those two plumb lines. So it's helping gauge the width of the legs and the angle of the legs as I go. Making sure you have a plumb line on both your drawing and your reference is vital. So if you draw it on one, you need to put it on the other, or at least imagine it. And a lot of artists will just imagine it, and I do a lot of that as well, but it's helpful to have it drawn. I'm looking at the space between my plumb line and the edge of the leg, and that's helping me create the angle of that leg. So I'm going to try to create that same shape. So even though we're using plumb lines as our tool here, we're also looking at the negative space because the plumb lines are creating an enclosed negative space to help us gauge everything we're doing here. One thing I've discovered is I think as human beings we want to make everything look symmetrical, but it doesn't. Depending upon the angle, things look different. Like his back leg on this side looks much thinner than this side because of that angle. So we want to draw what we see and how it compares to that plumb line as we go. So now we've got the sketch of the entire picture. We've kept it light and loose. I've drawn darker than I usually do so you can see it, but we've got everything in its place. We've used plumb lines to make sure that everything lines up. So the edge of the face lines up with this part of the leg. The edge of this horn lines up to the corner here, about to this part of his leg. We just looked at horizontal and vertical plumb lines and use those as tools to help make sure that everything is lined up and nothing is contorted or or crooked in our drawing, and that will help you with your drawing accuracy. So remember, when you have a T-square, you can make sure that it is perfectly horizontal or vertical by lining up this crossbar here. If you don't want to use a T-square, go ahead and just use your arm, and you can just go back and forth like this. Just use your shoulder to get the straight lines and not your wrist, and that will help you. But a lot of artists will just go like this and just draw the lines in, and the horizontal lines too, and just see if they've got them in the right spot. So either way will work. Just make sure that you're drawing straight lines, and make sure that you're comparing it to your reference picture. You're drawing plumb lines on both your reference and on your drawing. So I'll go ahead and finish this drawing off and make it look more like a refined drawing. But remember, as you are starting your drawing, to make sure that you're nailing that accuracy, use plumb lines, both horizontal and vertical. You can measure it or you can eye it, but making sure that elements on your drawing line up with these vertical lines or horizontal lines will help you nail it every time. And don't forget, if you want to learn more about my coaching program, Happy Artist, comment happy below and I'll send you the link. I hope that helps.